Something big just happened with Palantir today. Around 27 million Palantir has been questioned. Everything changed in just 24 hours. It seems like they're stepping brakes right now. However, this might actually be a blessing in disguise, and will trigger a 10 times price increase for Palantir. What is happening? And why is this important? Well, let me explain. Disclaimer. Palantir's stock price hit a little bump today, a bit of a correction. But not long after, it slowly started to recover. And honestly, that recovery makes sense because today, a flood of major Palantir news came out, and it's got people talking all over the place. But the biggest headline of them all? A huge investment index just dropped an unexpected bombshell. They're actually stepping on the brakes when it comes to Palantir. And yeah, that's got some investors a little shaken up. You can feel the nervous energy in the community, with people wondering if this might impact the stock in a big way. But here's where it gets interesting, and a little bullish, to be honest. According to one sharp analyst, this pullback might not be such a big deal in the grand scheme of things. Why? Because Palantir is moving fast. The company's scaling like crazy, announcing new partnerships, expanding across industries, and strengthening its position as one of the most aggressive AI players on the map right now. The momentum they've built, it's real. So this sudden move from the index might just be a speed bump, not a wall. And let's be honest here, when dips like this happen, it's actually a gift in disguise. That's why right now it's more important than ever to make sure you've got some Palantir shares in your bag. And the best part? We're here to help you do just that, for free. Yep, you can actually get Palantir stocks at zero cost. Just click the link in the description, follow all the steps, and you're good to go. Now, going back to the market, you might be wondering, what does this mean for Palantir's price chart? Is this just a tiny dip or something deeper? Well, another analyst just broke it down, and here's what he said. Over the past week, Palantir slid a bit, around 5%. But that's not exactly shocking considering how much it's pumped recently. Some rebalancing happened last Friday, and that might have triggered this current move. But whether or not this pullback continues depends on how the market reacts over the next few sessions. He even pointed out that a certain price zone, let's just call it the 125 range, might get tested again. And below that, there's a long-term support line hanging around what he calls the 87 zone, which also lines up with the 200-day moving average. The RSI, which tracks momentum, has been cooling off for a while now. But here's the thing, that's not bad. It's like the stock is recharging its batteries, gathering strength for the next leg up. And this analyst? He's holding on. In fact, he mentioned he's still got a large Palantir position that makes up around 12% of his portfolio, and he's not selling it anytime soon. That kind of conviction tells you everything. He's in this for the long run, and he believes Palantir's best days are still ahead. So what just happened? Well, if you remember in our last video, we talked about how Palantir was on its way to being added to the Russell Index, and we even said it could be a total game changer. More exposure, more institutional flow, more momentum. But now, it looks like the tide has turned in a very unexpected way. Instead of staying in the Russell 2000, Palantir just got bumped up to the Russell 1000 Index. On paper, that sounds like an upgrade, right? Moving from small cap to large cap territory? That's usually a good sign. A signal that the company's growing, scaling, and becoming a serious player. But here's the twist. This move actually triggered a sharp sell-off. Palantir's shares dropped by over 9% in just a single day. And the reason is kind of wild. See, when a stock moves out of the Russell 2000 and into the Russell 1000, small cap funds that track the Russell 2000 are basically forced to sell it. It's not about whether they like Palantir or believe in it. They literally have no choice. These funds follow the index strictly, and when Palantir graduated to the large cap side, it meant they had to dump their shares all at once. One analyst even pointed out that around 27 million shares were sold at the close, in one single move, just because Palantir had grown too big to stay in the small cap club. That kind of sudden mechanical selling puts insane pressure on the stock, no matter how bullish the long-term outlook is. But here's the thing. This isn't a fundamental problem with Palantir. It's not because the company is weak or underperforming. In fact, it's the opposite. Palantir has grown so much that it literally got pushed into the big leagues. This was technical, not emotional. And these types of sell-offs? They're usually short-lived. Now think about what happens next. Those shares that were forcefully sold don't just disappear. They hit the market and start looking for new buyers. And with Palantir's strong growth, constant government contracts, and expanding AI dominance, you can bet that smart investors are going to be scooping them up fast. And here's the thing. Even according to another seasoned analyst, this entire situation was a calculated move, not some sudden collapse or red flag. He broke it down simply. Palantir's sell-off? It was much ado about nothing. Here's what really happened. Palantir had become the largest holding in the Russell 1000 mid-cap index, taking up around 9% of the total weight. That's huge. But with the index rebalancing recently, funds that track it were forced to sell shares, not because Palantir did anything wrong, but because the structure of the index requires it. It's a rules-based system, and Palantir had simply grown too large, too fast. This is the opposite of what we saw when Palantir got added to the S&P and Nasdaq indexes. Back then, funds were forced to buy in order to match the index weights. This time around, it flipped. They had to unload. And that's why this analyst believes the sell-off was purely technical. Palantir was one of the only stocks selling off during that window, which made it clear that this wasn't about fundamentals, fear, or bad news. It was just a result of the mechanical way indexes work. No drama, no disaster. What's even funnier, he pointed out how so many people were panicking over an 8% drop, completely forgetting that Palantir is still up over 100% from its previous lows. Like, really? After that kind of climb, a little dip is just the market catching its breath. And that's exactly the point. Volatility is normal, especially for a stock like Palantir that's been moving at lightning speed. Triple-digit gains come with some pullbacks. That's just how it works. But the bigger story here is that Palantir is adjusting to its new reality, becoming a heavy hitter in multiple indexes, attracting massive institutional attention, and scaling at a pace most companies can only dream of. So yeah, the drop might have scared a few people. But if you zoom out, this looks more like a healthy reset than a cause for concern. Palantir is normalizing at a much higher level than before. And once all this index rebalancing is done and dusted, don't be surprised if it picks up right where it left off, charging toward new highs. And even looking at the long term, Palantir is looking really, really good. This isn't just short-term momentum or hype, it's about how the company is fundamentally built for something bigger. And no one explains that better than Palantir's own CEO, Alex Karp. In a recent interview, Karp broke it down in a way that really puts Palantir's edge into perspective. He said, "What makes our business very special is that our products are different from traditional software businesses. They have thin products, but new ways to sell them." Let that sink in for a second. What he's saying is, most software companies focus on selling you a bunch of tools that are basically surface level. They look slick, they might scale fast, but when it comes to actually solving hard, real-world problems, they fall short. Palantir, on the other hand, is playing a whole different game. Palantir builds deep, powerful platforms, like Foundry and Gotham, that embed themselves into the core operations of governments, militaries, and Fortune 500 companies. These aren't apps you download and forget next week. These are mission-critical systems that clients can't just swap out. Once you're in the Palantir ecosystem, you're in for the long haul, and that's what gives the company such strong long-term durability and growth potential. And we're seeing that play out now. Whether it's AI integration, defense contracts, global expansion, or scaling commercial operations, Palantir isn't just reacting to trends. They're building the infrastructure that shapes the future of data and decision-making. So while the stock might have its ups and downs, the vision behind Palantir remains clear. The leadership is confident, the products are unmatched, and more importantly, the mission is massive.